what's up everyone? Tedrick85 here, and today I'm making this video because there's something that's been on my mind lately and I just have to get it off my chest. For those of you that are movie buffs like I am, you've probably heard that there's a Ghostbusters reboot coming out on July 22nd, 2016. And those of you already know it's a reboot that's all-women cast. It has Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones in it. And it's also directed by Paul Feig, who also made movies such as Bridesmaid, The Heat, and Spy. For one, I think this movie's gonna be awesome. I just can't wait to see it. The more news I read about it, and the more pics I see about it of the actresses on set, I'm actually genuinely pumped up for this movie, and I think it's gonna be a breath of fresh air, especially towards this franchise, which I loved both Ghostbusters movies, which I like the first one better than the second one, but anyways, those are definitely classic '80s movies in that, and I don't think this movie is gonna detract from that. I think this is gonna be a nice addition to the franchise with all this talent, especially with Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. Now, unfortunately, I seem to find myself in a very small minority of people that feel the same way I do, and it just seems like a vast majority of the people on the internet are absolutely hating on this movie and saying bad things about this movie, and I just have to wonder why, and I think the thing that upsets me the most about this is that there hasn't even been a trailer out for this movie yet, and like people are bashing this movie left and right. And I just don't get it. Well, I understand why people are against it, but why? I mean, like I just said, there hasn't even been a trailer out yet, and yet people are just saying hateful things about this movie. And I know what I noticed about the people that are saying bad things about this reboot. I like to categorize them into two main groups. The first group of people criticizing this reboot are what I like to call traditionalists, and that's people that are saying, well, it doesn't have the original cast in it, then it's not going to be as good. I like the original Ghostbusters, which I do understand that, nobody's going to beat the likes of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, or Ernie Hudson in that. I mean, they were an ensemble team when they got on those movies. But having said that, Harold Ramis is dead. Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd aren't any younger. Ernie Hudson's not any younger, and that. So, if there was going to be another Ghostbusters movie, do people really expect to have them hanging around for a third movie? Especially since the third movie was pretty much in production hell before this reboot came about. I mean, I do understand people being apprehensive about that, but you know what? Change can be good. And contrary to popular belief, not all remakes are horrible. Dread, Halloween, The Thing, and The Mummy are some examples I can think of remakes that I consider to be better than the original in that. But no, I'm not necessarily gonna say that this movie's gonna be better than the original in that. But I'm just giving some food for thought that when people hear reboot or remake, automatically this movie's gonna suck and that. But I like to consider myself an open-minded person, and I like to see what exactly this all-female cast can do. Well, I can't say it's an all-female cast because there are going to be men in this movie. First and foremost, Chris Hemsworth is going to play the receptionist in the movie, pretty much what Annie Potts did in the original. And of course, we have an actor named Neil Casey playing the villain in the movie, and there's also going to be Andy Garcia, who's going to be playing the mayor of New York City in this movie. So it's not like this movie is going to be all dominated by women in that, but and that's a pretty good segue about the second group of people that people that criticize this movie. And I'm not even going to sugarcoat this, guys. It all comes down to it's all about sexism. The fact that there is an all female cast, especially as the main characters, having all the Ghostbusters being women. And I'm not, and folks, let's not even pretend that this is not an issue, because I'm sure a lot of you read like the comments and that, whether this Ghostbusters reboot makes the news on IMDb or even social media on Facebook and that. You get these people complaining about them being all the Ghostbusters being women, and I even read comments calling them feminazis and that, and Hollywood going towards all these feminists and that. And I even read a bunch of comments with people saying, I'm not a sexist, but well, there's kind of like a hint right away. If you have to start your sentence or a critique with "I'm not a sexist," but the only person you're trying to convince that you're not a sexist is yourself, because once you type those words down, you're pretty much open for any kind of criticism that comes your way. So, but yeah, it just you have no idea how much this frustrates me about people complaining about the fact that all the Ghostbusters in here are women. And I think the concept is kind of cool personally, and I always wondered when I was a kid why there was not a female Ghostbuster. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, whenever Ghostbusters 2, whenever I first finished watching that movie, I was kind of hoping that they would make a third one where Sigourney Weaver would be one of the Ghostbusters. It's because I would have thought that would have been pretty cool. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But it just seems like now that everybody's complaining about it, and 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 it's not just women in general. And that I notice a lot of people are complaining about this movie, are also cutting down Melissa McCarthy. Like, I really don't understand what everybody's problem is Melissa McCarthy. I think she's a very talented comedian, personally. And I think she was good in movies such as The Heat, Identity Thief, rather. I thought she was excellent on St. Vincent and Tammy. And another criticism in that was, she only plays the same kind of character in all of her movies. If you watch Melissa McCarthy movies, or a good chunk of her movies, you're gonna find out that that statement is not true immediately. I mean, you cannot tell me that if you watch Saint Vincent and watch her in that movie that she's the same exact character as she was in The Heat. She's two completely different characters. But I'm kind of going off tangent here, and but yeah, I never did understand it. I mean, and just because she's in this movie doesn't mean the movie's automatically gonna suck. I mean, personally, I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, but I consider Elf to be one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies, even though he was in it. So, people have to be fair about that. And, going back to this whole female thing, and it's not like I don't think I'm being off base here, because heck, look at all the furor that happened whenever Mad Max Fury Road came out with Charlize Theron and all the female characters in that movie. Everybody started complaining about that. They're like, oh, this is supposed to be about Mad Max, what are all these women doing on here? I mean, are you guys really that intimidated by strong female characters in movies? I would hate to see these guys every time they watch Alien or Halloween or anything like that. See strong female characters portrayed in those movies, and what? And another thing is too, how come these guys have the right to complain about this Ghostbusters reboot having an all-female cast, but yet no one seems to have the right to complain about a movie like The Expendables, which literally has an all-male cast, which actually the third movie had Ronda Rousey in it. Oh, one woman compared to all those men that are on screen. I mean, I just think that's a big double standard in that, and for those of you who don't believe me that there's not a double standard, I'm going to throw out a little bit of some facts here along here. There's actually been a study, not only by the New York Film Academy, but also the Center for the Study of Women in Television and Film. And I think these statistics are rather eye-opening and disturbing. Like, for instance, on screen in the top 500 films from 2007 to 2012, only 30.8% of speaking characters are women. That is less than a third. 28.8% of women wore sexually revealing clothes as opposed to 7% of men. 26.2% of women actors get partially naked while 9.4% of men do. And only 10.7% of movies featured in balanced cast where half the characters are female. And just to name off a few, average ratio of male actors to female actors is 2.25 to 1. Roughly a third of female-speaking characters are shown in sexually revealing attire and are partially naked. But the big stat to me is that only 31% of speaking roles are occupied by females, which is a point that I had talked about before, but only 23% of films feature female protagonists. That is less than a quarter of films that are out there that have strong female representation in that. And Let's not pretend, folks. This status quo's got to change. I think, as a guy, I think it's refreshing seeing women take the mantle in that, and I'm actually embrace the fact that there's going to be strong female representation in this movie. Which it's not going to be all females, like I said before. You get Chris Hemsworth and Andy Garcia is going to be in this movie, but I just think everybody needs to chill out on this, and they can't really say, "Oh, it's because of all women in it." That's not, to me, that's not a legitimate excuse for this movie to be terrible. It just, I just wish, I'm looking forward to the trailer when that comes out, and of course I'm gonna be looking at some of the comments when the trailer comes out. It's probably gonna be more of the same people bashing this movie, but you know what? I'm not even asking for people to like this movie when it comes out. All I'm asking is give this movie a chance. I mean, if you another thing I just thought about it right now is, remember when Dark Knight came out and Heath Ledger was named to be cast as the Joker? Everybody was very skeptical of that at first, including myself. They're like, "Oh, you're kidding me? That's gonna be bad." And let's not pretend that didn't happen, folks, because it was all over the threads that everybody, well, not everybody, but there's a large chunk of people that were opposed to Heath Ledger becoming the Joker in that movie, and we actually finally did get to see the movie. He was absolutely fantastic, and in my book, he's the best Joker of all time, and that's saying a lot considering how good Jack Nicholson did in Tim Burton's Batman. But yeah, give this movie a chance. I mean, for all you know, Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and that could be somewhat comparable to that of Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, put their own flavor in things, and I think that's a key point to bring up here. Is that I'm getting the sense that some people are thinking that Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig are going to do the same thing Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd did in the movie, but the whole idea of a reboot or a remake is to do something different. And I think they're going to bring something different to the table, and that's really not that bad. Really not that bad. And just give this movie a shot. And for all the hate that this movie's getting, you're gonna swear you would almost swear that not only did this movie already come out, but it's just as bad or worse than the last Airbender movie, which I don't see this movie being anywhere close to being that bad. But yeah, I don't think this movie's gonna be a masterpiece. But come on, folks, give this movie a chance. It's not gonna kill anybody to see a movie that's gonna have all women on here. And it's especially not going to kill anybody to see a Ghostbusters reboot without the original cast in it. I mean, it's really not going to be too much to ask for. Like, when I'm like personally, I'm excited about Star Wars Episode 7 and the fact that Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia is going to be in it. But I'm going to be honest with you, if Luke and Leia and Han Solo was not in Episode 7, I'd be equally as excited to watch it. And that's a different debate, I think that's why people didn't like the prequel trilogy, because they didn't have those characters in it. But once again, I'm kind of going off a tangent here. But yeah, but yeah, give this movie a shot. I mean, yeah, people can watch the trailer and give reactions to the trailer of this movie, and people may or may not like it. That's fine. But a trailer is only like what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. That's quite a snippet in comparison to the whole movie, which I'm not sure how long. I don't think they really disclosed how long this movie's going to be. I don't even think there's going to be a rating to this movie yet. But yeah, I just think people need to chill about this a little bit and not be so jumpy about this. Change can be good. It may be a good change, it may be a bad change, but you know what? People cannot be afraid of change. If people aren't willing to change, everything's gonna stay the same, and if everything stays the same, life's gonna get pretty boring, isn't it? But yeah, I just figured I'd make this video just to get this off my chest, and I really have to say this right now. If it seemed like at any point in this video that somehow is bashing anybody's opinion in that towards us or anything like that, I'm truly sorry. But at the same time, though, you do have to understand there's gonna be people out there that may disagree with you, but that doesn't necessarily make them wrong. For all these people that are hating this movie, they could end up being right after all. But the point I'm trying to make is at least give it a shot. Heck, if I end up watching this movie and it ends up sucking really bad, I'm not gonna be least bit shy to say that. But you know what? You can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't just go by what you read on what's going on in the news and that. Who knows? This chemistry of this all-female cast plus having Chris Hemsworth in that, and this might be a pretty good ensemble, and this might end up being a fantastic movie. And I really have to give a thumbs up to Paul Feig for going along with this and, not paying attention to any of the haters and not doing his own thing. I really do have to salute him, not only for him making this an all-female cast, but just sticking to his guns and that. And he's always been a guy that stuck to his guns, and I have the utmost respect for Paul Feig when it comes to this, and hopefully he's not going to let us down with this movie. I know I liked his other movies, like The Heat, which is one of my all-time favorite comedies, but yeah, we can only hope that this movie ends up being good in that. The trailer looks pretty decent, and when the movie comes out, it ends up being good, which I'm not even gonna lie. A part of me wants this movie to do really, really well, just in spite of the haters and that, they're spewing all this garbage on the internet and that. But yeah, I just really want people to give this movie a shot. It may not be the best movie of all time, but I can't see this being one of the worst movies of all time. But just give it a shot, because whether people want to admit it or not, women are still a minority in this industry, the Hollywood show business and stuff, and a large chunk of the population of society and that are just so afraid of change. And unless both those things change, I don't see things getting any better in that. I don't see the criticisms being any better or anything like that. But yeah, I just had to get this off my chest in that. I know I'm excited about what I've seen so far from this reboot and that. I'm excited about all the news I've been reading about it, and let's just hope that when the trailer comes out and when the movie comes out, it meets. I can't say meet expectations because the expectations for it are as low as it is, but hopefully it's able to exceed everyone's expectations and people will actually embrace this, because I think it could actually be something special if Paul Feig plays his cards correctly in that. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this, whether you agree or disagree with me. Which I'm not even gonna lie. I'm expecting a bunch of people to disagree with what I say in this video, which is fine. I don't care if you disagree with me, just as long as you're civil about it. But I'm really looking forward to what you guys have to say about this, what you have to say about the cast and the crew, and what your expectations are in this movie, what you would like to see in this movie, and that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say, and I'm gonna end this video before I ramble on even more than that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this, and I will see you guys again next time.